So first of all, heartiest welcome to our speaker of the day, Dr. Aba Khetrapal Madam, and our coordinate partner, Dr. Yadu Sharma ji, Principal SS Jain Subodh TT College, Sanganer, Jaipur, Rajasthan, and heartiest welcome to all the participants here. So before inviting you, ma'am, to deliver a session, I would like to introduce you. Dr. Aba Khetrapal Madam is a retired principal and associate professor from DAV College for Girls, Yamunanagar, Haryana. She has completed BSc Home Science Gold Medalist, MSc Food and Nutrition, PhD Food and Nutrition. Overall, Madam has 35 years experience, 5 books published, papers in journal total 73, abstract in seminars proceedings 21, full chapters in books 14th, number of presentations 62, number of conference and seminars attended 91, FDP attended 8 programs, acted as a resource person in 15 conferences, sanctions one minor and one major project by UGC completed and submitted. Associationship 3 spells, awards and recognitions total 7. Online webinar workshops attended total 94. Research in women related issues like stress management, health issues, health status of adolescents and women empowerment by using ICT tools, lifestyle diseases in women and dietary counseling and much more during PhD, in oral presentation and in publications. Organized several national level seminars and acted as a resource person in conferences related to adolescents and women health. Member of several professional bodies related to nutrition like IDEA, ISPN, NSI. So I think there are lots of things, ma'am, you have, and we are feeling very proud to have with you here. And I would like to invite you to share your opinion on developing a questionnaire, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Kitty. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Thank you so much for inviting me. A wonderful initiative by Saksham to have this certificate course for research. I was not able to log in. I just came to my further program. You are enjoying and learning so much in this course. How should you choose your topic, the future researchers, the PhD scholars? How should you going for sample testing, about plagiarism, about advanced tools and techniques you have learned, about reference writing and formatting. And today I'll be dealing with how to develop a questionnaire and what is pre and post testing. So not taking much of your time, I'll start with the presentation. That is developing a questionnaire. When doing any project, it is very, very important to know as much information about the project and the views of everyone involved with it, so that the best direction for the project can be made. जो भी हम प्रॉब्लम या प्रोजेक्ट लेना चाहते हैं उसके बारे में हमें पूरा पता होना चाहिए A to Z, तभी हम वो सक्सेसफुली कर सकते हैं. ऑफ कोर्स बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस आते हैं, बट वी शुड बी क्लियर व्हाट वी वांट एंड हाउ मच वी वांट, how much information we want, and 2 ways of gathering this information, which is so important, is through questionnaires and interviews. They both have positive and negatives, but overall the job is done properly in different ways. Now for research design, as you must have earlier heard from various eminent resource persons, one should define goals and objectives. Then the sampling group, create the questionnaire or set up interview format, administer the questionnaire or you perform the interview, and then analyze the data. Defining goals and objectives is very, very important, because this is the first step of doing research. And then what type of data are you gathering? What do you plan to do with the data? What are the areas you want to explore? Which methods you want to use in your research? Is your research process or proposal feasible? Are there any arrangements you must make to carry out research? You must be clear with these goals and objectives before you venture into research. Now, the selection of participants is very, very important in a research. When selecting participants, it's important to select them from groups which are involved in the project and they are interested in it. Not disinterested, but interested in it, and they want keenly to be involved in it, and they want to be a part of it. It's also important to try to select from a variety of different groups within the organization. They can be various age groups, they can be from different socio-economic groups, can be from different professions, can be rural and urban or semi-urban. More variety you have, more you'll be able to do justice with your questionnaire and with the problem you are trying to research on. If you want, you can give some incentives to the participants, maybe a pen or a chocolate, to encourage them to participate in it eagerly. They must look forward to participate in your interview or in filling your questionnaire. Now, what is a questionnaire? This is the topic given to me. Questionnaire is a tool for collecting information to describe, to compare or to explain an event or a situation, as well as to collect knowledge, to get socio-demographic data, to observe the attitudes and behavior of a particular group, which is our target group. The use of questionnaire is an indirect method of research which is used to gather a wide range of information from a large population. Questionnaires are designed so that the participant must read the questions which are being asked and must then answer them on the response style, means on the basis of the response desired, whether it is yes or no, whether it is tick mark or any other type of response. Before designing the questionnaire, our approach should take consideration of the topic, whom we want to survey, our budget, the type of information we want, and how quickly we need the information. This is very, very important before we design our questionnaire. Questionnaire design, it's a systematic process in which the researcher thinks about various question formats. He contemplates on various question formats, considers a number of factors characterizing the survey at hand. Then he ultimately and finally forms the various questions which the researcher very carefully organizes in the questionnaire layout. So questionnaire designing is very, very important. There are roughly 10 steps if you are designing a questionnaire for a survey. One should identify what one wants to cover in a survey. One should be clear what areas one wants to cover, whether it is stress management, whether it is medical history of adolescents, whether it is obesity and exercise, whether it is dietary inventions, whatever it is, one should be able to identify what one wants to cover in a survey, means the objectives you want to cover in your research. Accordingly, you should put questions which are necessary. Keep your questionnaire short and simple, not too elaborate, not too many questions. No one has the time or capacity to answer 200 to 300 questions. So keep it short and simple. Ask one question at a time and avoid using big words or what words we use rather in our while using Twitter or Instagram. Never use short words. Please keep asking your question one at a time and use simple words so that the person or the respondent is not confused. Open-ended questions or close-ended questions, whatever is the part of your questionnaire should be asked. You should spend quality time to design your questionnaire, to design your survey, and then you analyze the response after your questionnaire is pre-tested and you analyze the response after collecting. It is post-tested Again, you can do pre-stat testing if you think it is required. And after analyzing the responses, please put a summary report together. Summarize your research and then conclude your plan of action. The procedure for development is you should specify what information will be sought. You should determine the type of questionnaire, how to administer it. You should also determine the form of response you will get, the content of individual questions, and wording of each question should be very, very clear and simple. Now, mostly two types of questions are asked in a questionnaire, open and the closed. Open-ended questionnaire or open-ended questions in a questionnaire give us more information, but it is difficult to codify them, difficult to enter and analyze them. However, the closed-ended questions give us less information, no doubt, but they are easy to codify, enter, and analysis becomes easier. Now, open-ended question help us collect qualitative data in a questionnaire. Here the respondent can answer in a free form with little or no restrictions, so that you get lot of information and you are able to establish a rapport with your respondent. However, in the closed-ended questions, they are basically multiple choice questions in which a respondent has to select one response if it is a single select multiple choice question, or many responses if it is a multi-select multiple choice question. For example is, have you been stressed lately? Now the response is yes or no. So naturally it's a single select multiple choice question. So you have to give one response, yes or no. Now these closed-ended questions are easy to manage and easy to codify. Now multiple choice question, if you see, this is the Likert scale, which is very, very common. There are 5 options in this. You strongly disagree with the question, you disagree, you are neutral, you agree, or you strongly agree. For example, there is a question, the website was easy to navigate. If you strongly disagree, you tick here, or you disagree, you tick there. If you are neutral, you tick this response. If you agree, you tick this response. And if you strongly agree, you tick this response. So this type of multiple choice question is a 5-scale question, which is called the Likert scale, and it is very commonly used in research. Now another type of multiple choice question is the checklist type. There is a question put up by the researcher that which of the following would you like to see in the showroom? A space utility vehicle, or a sedan, or a hatchback, or a convertible, or all the above. So according to your choice, according to your liking, you can take any. This is a checklist type response. You are not agreeing or disagreeing. You are just checklisting whatever you like. Now another type of multiple choice question in the questionnaire is a rank order. Right? Please rank the following toppings you are using in a sandwich on a scale of 1 to 5, being 1 being your favorite. Now there are different. Do you like pepperoni on your sandwich, or you prefer mushrooms, or you prefer olives, or you prefer sausage, or any other dressing? You have to rank it in order of 1 to 5. This is another type of multiple choice question. Where there are questions on a scale of 7, like very poor to excellent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 responses. That is very poor is less than 1, and more than 7 is the excellent choice. So this is another type of multiple choice question. The common mistakes we make while making a questionnaire. Now this is a type of question I am asking my respondent that what might be wrong with this question. We will discuss what was the first drink you had today. Tea, coffee, water, juice, haven't had a drink, or other. Please state. Now the mistake in this is that different options should be given instead of writing other. It can be hot water, it can be lemon water, because this is not very clear. Now there is another question which is very commonly asked in the demographic data in a questionnaire. What is your age group? 0 to 18, 18 to 30, 30 to 45 or 45 plus. Now this is very confusing for the respondent because this is wrongly asked. This should have been the options 0 to 18, 19 to 30, 31 to 45 and 46 and above, so that the respondent is easily able to tick mark whatever age group he or she fits into. Another common mistake is, what do you think about the waiting time? Excellent, very good, good, average or poor. Instead of giving 5 responses, you could categorize them as good response or as bad response. So these are the common mistakes we make which might confuse the respondent and we may not get the right response. This is another mistake which we commonly do. How would you rate the appointment booking service using the website, phone or reception? Good, average or poor? If a respondent wants to respond, does not want to respond to any of these categories, so there should be another column of not applicable, so that the respondent is able to respond and answer correctly. Now demographics are very common. When we are getting a questionnaire filled, we need to know how opinions and behaviors vary across different categories of people. We are able to collect such things or such information about gender, whether male, female or transgender, about the age, about income, whether low income group, middle or high income group, education levels, metric, +2, graduate, postgraduate, PhD, postdoctoral, political beliefs, belongs to Hindu religion, belongs to Muslim religion, belongs to Christian religion. So different parameters are covered while asking collecting the demographic data from the respondent. But if you can enter one line at the end of each instrument that it is easy to answer, it gives more confidence and becomes more interesting for the respondent. Now, type of questionnaire can also be divided into 2 types. Self-completed, which is completed by the respondent and sent to the researcher by post, that is postal or electronic media, that is through mail, or it can be through interviews. In interview, the respondent and the researcher come face to face, or it can even be on the telephone or mobile. Now, self-completed, if the respondents complete on their own the questionnaire, we are able to measure variables with numerous values or response categories. But studying private or difficult behavior becomes easier. Characteristics of a large population you are able to gather and investigate attitudes and opinions. However, you are not able to observe because you are not meeting them in person. You are just getting the respondents' questionnaire filled up online or by post. The respondents complete on their own, they don't discuss and they don't interact. However, the self-completed questionnaire mostly is not suitable for all audience, especially young children who are unable to understand, visually impaired, who are not able to read properly, and children or adults or adolescents who have some reading or learning disabilities, and they can understand well if they come in contact with the researcher and they discuss face to face, or they discuss over the mobile or the telephone. How to obtain valid information? This is very important. Now I distribute my questionnaire to 100 or 200 respondents. So how to obtain valid information? For this, one must ask purposeful questions. One must ask solid or concrete questions, not beat about the bush. One must use simple conventional language, not the WhatsApp language, no shortcut language. One must use complete sentences and prefer to use shorter questions than long questions. Avoid abbreviations, avoid negative questions, avoid two-edged questions. Please use simple language, and you can even adapt or take questions which are used successfully in other questionnaires. Instructions should be given before the respondent starts filling up the questionnaire. Now, beginning of each section should include clear instruction, whether it has to be a yes, no, whether it has to be tick, or whether these are descriptive answers. Have to be given. So, clear instructions should be included at the beginning of each section. Disclose the needed information for respondents to decide whether they have to fill that question to complete the survey or whether they are not sure about the answer. Please tell them that their names or IDs will be kept anonymous. However, their responses will not be kept anonymous because the researcher has to go ahead and deal with going for data analysis, but their names and IDs will be kept confidential. This is very, very important. Now, the sequence of the question is very important. Design your interview schedule or your questionnaire to be informally friendly. The sequence of the question must be logical and it must allow as much as possible for a natural conversation. It should not be too formal. At the beginning of the interview or in the questionnaire, a limited number of concerning background should be mentioned regarding age, education, the marital status, the socio-economic status, the place of residence, the income, and so on. Subjective versus objective. Now, objective data are the questions which are not influenced by personal preferences and beliefs. Are you a major? Are you a minor? So, these are objective data which are not influenced by personal preferences. However, subjective data are questions which are heavily influenced and based on personal likes and beliefs, like do you like BA? Do you prefer medical stream? Do you prefer to go in for commerce? And so on. Similarly, qualitative versus quantitative data in a questionnaire is different. Quantitative data is numerical based data which is counted and then analyzed. For example, height is measured by a unit, that is inches, or it can be feet. Similarly, weight is measured in pound or weight. So this is the quantitative data. Qualitative data is more precise data which concerns words, pictures, or objects. Like how does a person like a particular thing, or how is a person fond of going to movies? Is a person fond of going for exercise? So this is the qualitative data. Now, in the majority of research, qualitative data is preferred and is shown to provide more accurate answers than quantitative data. This research has proved. However, there are individual differences. Now, the positivity or the positive part of a questionnaire is that it is a cost and time efficient way of collecting a variety of data from large populations. Depending on your problem, whether you have taken a sample size of 400, 200 or 500, there is less pressure on the respondent to respond quickly as time is given to them. They are easy to analyze and recording the data becomes very, very easy. Questionnaire negatives, however, are also there. There can be some sampling error. The margin of error one has to keep. The response can be biased. Sometimes the respondent answers are not their true beliefs. They look right and left and they tick what their friends or their family members are ticking. So response bias is there. However, the wording of a question should be there, should be proper, but sometimes the question is misunderstood because of difficult wordings, or because of not because of not because the wordings are not simple. So sometimes the question is misunderstood and the response may not be proper. So these are the negatives of the questionnaire, that sampling error can be there, the response bias can be there, and wording of the question can also be misunderstood and the response may be biased. Now, are there any issues with the design of a questionnaire? We have to find out whether the questionnaire is usable. You have to put a question to yourself, the researcher, that will your questionnaire be easy to use? Is it usable, or it will frustrate people and they will just put it off and they will not answer? This is a very important question in order for your research to become a success. That is your questionnaire easy to use? Is it usable? Is your questionnaire accessible, or it will crash on old computers, or it will not be able to work on different operating system and you may not be able to analyze it? Is your questionnaire doable, or is are multimedia dreams running ahead of you? You're technically not that savvy and your data is coming in an unusable format, so that you are not able to analyze your data. So these are basically the questionnaire design issues, that the questionnaire should be usable, it should be accessible, it should be doable, it should be according to the latest technical system that is going on, and it should not crash on old computers and should be able to work on MS Excel, MS Word, Office, or whatever windows you are using. So it should be usable, it should be accessible, it should be doable if you want your research to succeed. Now, preparation steps to design your questionnaire. You should specify and describe the core research problem, number one. Secondly, identify the factors and their interactions with the problem. Thirdly, you draw a simplified problem diagram. For example, if your core research problem is to study the stress management in case of working professionals, so you have to identify different factors and their interactions with the stress management, be it with the age, the job satisfaction questionnaire, the place they are residing, number of family members, the income, all these factors and their interactions with the problem should be studied, and then a simplified problem diagram should be drawn or planned, and then organize related factor into larger categories, and then identify your variables. This is very, very important. Take your objectives and variable as the starting point. Then decide what questions will be needed to measure the variables and reach your objectives. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many objectives you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So decide what questions help you to reach these objectives. When developing the questionnaire, one should reconsider the variables you have chosen, and if necessary, you add, you drop, or you change some. You can even change your objectives. There is no problem. If you think this is not working, you can change your objectives. Rather than failing at your research at a later stage, it is better to amend the objectives in the beginning. Now, formulating question is very, very important. Formulate one or more questions that will provide the information which is needed for each variable. The question, as a rule, it has to be broken up into smaller parts or different parts and made so specific that all the informants or all the respondents, they focus on the same thing. Avoid leading questions. Avoid asking any sensitive questions in a socially acceptable way. Avoid words with double meaning, which are complex or which are emotionally laden. Start with an interesting but non-controversial question which is directly related to the subject of the study, because this type of beginning helps to raise the informant's interest and they are less suspicious concerning the purpose of the interview or the questionnaire. They will show interest and they will fill their questionnaire in a happy mood. Pose more sensitive question as late as possible in the interview, in the questionnaire. Questions pertaining to income, to political matters, to sexual behavior. Post them. These are the sensitive questions or stigma experienced in case of any disease. They should be posted later, and please use simple language which can be easily understood by the respondents. So when you finalize your questionnaire, you should be sure that a separate introductory page is attached to each questionnaire explaining the purpose of the study and requesting the informant's consent, because this is an ethical question. You must request the informant's consent to be interviewed and assure him or her complete confidentiality of the data that is obtained. Each questionnaire should have a heading and a space to insert the number, date and location of the interview. This is very, very important. Make sure that all the questions, they belong together, they appear together visually. The question should not be too long. There should be sufficient space provided to open-ended questions, categories such as yes, no, other should be there. There should be space for posting comments. There should be boxes for pre-categorized answers so that one is able to put yes or no, or one is able to tick mark. Translation is very, very important. If interviews are conducted in one or more local languages, then the questionnaire should also be translated in order to standardize the way questions will be asked. If you frame your questionnaire in English, there might be someone, or your study should be such that it has to be translated. For example, one of my students approached me with a questionnaire. He was conducting a survey in Chandigarh on street vendors regarding the preparation of their street food and the hygienic practices they adopt. Now that questionnaire had more than 250 questions and all in English. So I made her, rather her co-guide made her reduce the number of questions to from 200 to 40, and she translated it into Hindi so that they are able to be read by the vendors and they are able to answer. They are street vendors. They don't own any shops. They were having small thelas. So it was easier for them to answer in Hindi. So if need be, you should translate your question in Hindi, English and Hindi, so that there is no problem in filling of the questionnaire by the respondent. Effort is required to answer these questions. For example, during your last consultation with your doctor, did the doctor discuss medications to help lower your blood pressure? What is meant by discuss? Now this particular question relies on the recall of discussion. Then do you remember? Did the doctor discuss medicines? Do you remember? Now many respondents, in answer to this question, will tick a response that is satisfactory just to tick a box, because one does not remember the discussion of the doctor and one will take some time to recall the discussion. So such ambiguous questions should be avoided to get a proper response. Sometimes the respondents show disinterest or they are fatigued by filling the questionnaire. You can take that out from the questionnaire. If they are ending with everything, if they just write don't know, if they always choose the first response, or if they randomly respond without considering the question, or you come to know that they are averted to the extreme end of the scale. So this you can make out that they are not showing so much interest in the questionnaire. To minimize this disinterest, to reduce this fatigue, you must keep the question simple, and I have been telling this from the first slide. Keep the question simple, keep words short, easy to understand, keep the respondent motivated, and please avoid words like never, or this. The order of the question is very, very important. Questions should be from general to specific, from impersonal to personal. and from easy to difficult, so that the questionnaire is filled smoothly by the respondent. It should appear logical to them and they fill it up smoothly from one question to another, from one question to the next question. The layout of the questionnaire is very, very important. There should be a cover letter, as I said, or an introductory page giving study title, giving organization or aims of the survey. There should be enough space for open-ended questions. Your font you using should be large enough to read without any strain. There should be consistent and clear instructions, and please do not divide the questions into two parts. Let them answer questions one by one, and there should be enough white space if they want to write a comment in a descriptive question. Now, since the construct that we are measuring is abstract, the relevant questions that we can easily ask, or the relevant questions to raise are: how do we know that we are indeed measuring what we want to measure? Can we be sure that if we repeated the measurement, we will get the same result? Now, these things come in the mind of the researcher. For this, there are two factors which should be kept in mind, that is validity and reliability. These come in the mind of the researcher, that how should the researcher be sure that he is measuring what he wants to measure. For this, validity comes into role. And how can he be sure that if we repeat the measurement, say after 2 months, if we again give the questionnaire to the respondents after 2-3 months, will we get the same response? This is what is measured by reliability. Validity and reliability are very, very important characteristics of this measurement, and they measure the instrument, and they are known as, we call them as psychometric properties of the questionnaire. Both validity and reliability are the psychometric properties of the questionnaire. Reliability gives stability to your questionnaire, it gives equivalence, and it gives a consistency, internal consistency to your questionnaire, and the researcher is relaxed that he can rely on the responses he is getting. However, validity gives confidence that the content is okay, the criteria is okay, and the concentration and the construction of the questionnaire is okay. This is very, very important, both reliability and validity, and they are known as measurement properties. Validity is defined as the extent to which the instrument measures what it purports or what it purposes to measure, that you are able to get the answer which you wanted. It is the credibility and believability of a measurement, that what answer we are getting is creditable, it is believable, and we can go ahead with the analysis of the data. For example, if you have a valid pain assessment tool, it will measure the intensity of the pain rather than measuring your depression or anxiety. So validity is very, very important for a questionnaire. Similarly, reliability is very important. It is defined as the extent to which a questionnaire produces the same results if you repeat the trials. This is very, very important. Both validity and reliability are very important as part of questionnaire. Now, selecting an existing instrument, you must have a clearly defined concept or construct or idea that you want to measure, along with an operational definition. And before developing any new measure, you should identify the existing instruments that measure the construct of its interest. And for these, you can use the standardized questionnaire. Now, standardized questionnaire are available online, and you can buy them when they are cost effective, and and they prevent you from starting from scratch to develop and validate an instrument. You don't need to validate the standardized questionnaire. Their reliability is validated. They are more reliable than the questionnaires we are developing, because we have to pre-test, like a pilot study. Whatever questionnaire you are developing, it has to be pre-tested. And these standardized questionnaires used, they are already pre-tested. Now, a standardized questionnaire, it's a questionnaire which is written and administered so that all the participants are asked the same question in an identical format, and the responses are recorded and scored in a specific, consistent manner. They offer many advantages as compared to the questionnaire we make. They are more reliable, their validity is more, they are more objective, their quantification is better, they are economical, you're able to communicate better to your respondents. For example, CIB health questionnaire is it's a very efficient questionnaire. It measures both your physical and mental health. There is PGI health questionnaire. It is a standardized questionnaire. This is a PSLE scale, means presumptive stress life event scale. It measures, there is another scale very commonly used to measure different types of stresses, that is Abharani Bish scale. It measures different types of stresses like social stresses there, stress related to self-esteem and much more. So it is better to use a standardized questionnaire. In case you don't get a standardized questionnaire, you can go ahead by designing your own questionnaire, or you can supplement your research by few standardized questionnaires and few questionnaires designed by yourself. Now, few tips while you are making your own questionnaire. There should be clarity. Try to make the questions as clear as possible, and please do not base them on interpretation that this will happen or that will happen. They should be clear. Moreover, it's very important to create questions which give you the most precise answer. So wording of questionnaire questions is very important. Avoid questions who have similar response choices. This will confuse the respondent. Do not include questions that will provide data which is not related to your goals and objectives. Suppose I'm studying and my questionnaire is related to anemia, and I want to collect data, or I have included data related to job satisfaction, and my problem is related to anemic adolescents. So one should not include questions which are not related to your goals and objectives. They will unnecessarily make them disinterested, and the respondents who are not interested will not fill the responses properly. You have to be very careful. Now, there are different ways of giving or administrating a questionnaire. You can give a personal handout, like a handout, you can printed handout, or you can mail them, email them, or you can mail them through post, or a web survey. Or web survey means they can fill in their selected choice based on multiple options if you send them a scanned copy. So there are several ways of administering a questionnaire. It can be given personally, it can be mailed, it can be given by postal mail, or it can be given online. Now, online questionnaire, we are the researchers who are interested in exploring the ways in which parents use online parenting websites for advice and information. So if you have decided to use an online questionnaire to administer a survey, and you have got cooperation from the main web parenting site, if you are researching on exploring the ways in parents deal with their adolescents, you can take help of online questionnaires, but think about 10 minutes before administering the type of question you would want to ask while addressing the parents about their adolescent health. This is just an example I have given. So developing an online questionnaire is not tough, but you have to create questions which make the researchers interested in exploring the way they can answer. Computer assisted and web based ways to create and administer self-administered questionnaire is very important. Questionnaires, especially short ones, you can send by email. They will be less time consuming. You will reduce your cost, and you will also find the response rates increasing in case you make use of online questionnaire. Now, this is a small thought. The only difference between a diamond and a lump of coal is that the diamond had a little more pressure put on it. So the need of the hour is that you have to find the right balance between the questionnaire, how you want to feed it to the respondents, so that you get the best result. This is very, very important. And for this, in framing a questionnaire, you have to going for testing of questionnaires. Testing means it provides a means to check the validity and reliability of the questionnaire. Pre-testing and post-testing, they are very, very commonly used. They are a common practice in a research. In the pre-testing, we survey our baseline data which we collect, and then at a later stage, post-testing checks or collects the follow-up information. Pre-testing is also known as pilot testing. It is the stage in the development of a questionnaire which determines the effectiveness of the questionnaire. Now for this you have to take a sample size of not less than 50 to 100. It is generally 10 to 20% of the total sample that you have taken. And the benefit of this pre-testing or the pilot study is that you come to know of the problems before you have done the final survey, before you go in for data analysis. And pilot testing examines the validity and reliability for each question. For this, you must define your objectives, you must choose the sample, you must conduct the test, you must analyze the feedback, and you must revise your questionnaire. I repeat, if required, you must revise your questionnaire and repeat the pre-test so that the questionnaire you attain after final revision should be accurate, should be grammatically correct, should be valid, and it should be reliable. So the qualities of a good questionnaire in research, I'm ending, is that it should be brief, it should be limited in scope, it should be clear, it should give clear and concise instructions, it should give accurately collected data should be there, it should be sensitive, it should be compassionate, it should be time effective. The questionnaire should be flexible, and please, no personal or uncomfortable questions. It can roughly be, the questionnaires can be online as I said, or it can be telephonically conveyed questionnaire, it can be a paper questionnaire, or it can be a face-to-face interview, and the questions can be open-ended, they can be close-ended, they can have multiple choice and much more. So the need of the hour is to find the right balance so that your research topic is dealt with properly and you get the best result you have thought of. Have a good day. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for such a very nice and wonderful session you deliver here. So this session is open for all now. If you have any query or any question in your mind, so you can ask directly to the ma'am, or you can also text in the chat box. Yes, Jyoti Vyas ji, if you want to ask some questions, you can ask directly to the ma'am. You are raising your hand. Renu ji, yes, please ask.
Yes, madam, namaskar.
Namaskar, Renu ji.
First of all, I feel sorry I joined late, madam, due to some urgent work. Right now, I have like pre-test and post-test should be there in that questionnaire, right, ma'am? Pre-test and post-test should be there in a questionnaire when we administrate the questionnaire, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. I just want to want to know that sample should be same, like quantity of sample, like number of students and number in pre and post test should be there.
Ma'am, pre-testing it is basically 10 to 20%.
Fine.
Suppose after pre-testing you are satisfied that yes, majority of the sample you have taken for pre-testing, you are satisfied with the results, then you can go in for a slower number. That is why we give a range of 10 to 20%. You can take 10% in the post sample. If you think your all queries are answered and there is no ambiguity as such in the data you are getting and the responses you are getting, but not less than 10% in any case.
Like when we take 100, like sample is 100, then 10% means 10 students we can take for pre-test and 94.
No, 20, minimum 20% while pre-testing.
20%, fine. And in experimental method, then we go for experimental method in research, madam. Then pre and post I think should be same in sample size.
There it is same, मैम. मैम कई बार क्या होता है, जैसे सपोज ब्लड टेस्ट करवाना है, इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू कन्विंस. सपोज मैंने एनीमिया चेक करना है एडोलेसेंट्स का, उनको बहुत मुश्किल होता है करवाने के लिए प्री और पोस्ट. कई बार वो पोस्ट जाते नहीं है, तो समटाइम्स दे गिव यू फेक आंसर्स. ये भी प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है. यू हैव टू बी वेरी वेरी केयरफुल. दे हैव टू पे फॉर दैट. तो कई बार ऐसा होता है कि हम पे करके करवाते हैं.
राइट.
And when depends on the time also. Suppose आपने प्री टेस्टिंग कराई एनीमिक पेशेंट्स की, आफ्टर 2 महीने के बाद अगर आप दोबारा कराएंगे वो इसमें इतना फर्क नहीं आएगा. मिनिमम 6 months should be given depending on your topic between प्री टेस्टिंग एंड पोस्ट टेस्टिंग.
डेफिनेटली.
सर्वे भी चल जाता है, लेकिन अगर कोई एक्सपेरिमेंटल है उसमें आपको मिनिमम 6 to 8 months देने पड़ते हैं. फिर रिजल्ट आएगा तभी तो आप देख पाएंगे ना कि पोस्ट में क्या रिजल्ट आया है.
Yes, ma'am. That's why experimental method is time-taking process compared to